That is a big news item there. Okay, great. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Check, sure.
Hello sir, this is Ravi Kumar from News Helpline. My question is to Richie sir. Sir, you just said during the process of editing you just went through various clips. I just wanted to know what did you notice and observe of the Indian audience, because India is actually divided into two parts. One is India and another is Bharat. So two types of India are there. So what did you notice and observe?
There are 17 languages in the film. I don't think there's two parts to India. And there were 52 languages submitted. So I think there's more than even that. I can't say what I observed about Indian audiences, because the only time I'm observing Indian audiences is actually presently. What I can say is, I think this film, for me, after watching all the footage, I watched half of the footage personally, what was submitted. I think that it is impossible to distill India into a word, even if that word is Bharat. I think it's a word, and India is far greater than any single word, any single phrase, any single sentence in any language. I think it's too complicated, it's too vast, it encompasses too much to distill it, and I don't think anyone will ever be able to understand it, to be honest. And I think it's a worthy endeavor to try, because you'll just never stop learning. So it's done that for me.
No, there's no one.
Hi, my question is to Richie. I just want to know, in these kind of initiatives when you have crowdfunding and crowdsourced content created, so do you face any challenges in getting the IP? And like for this entire movie, so you will be holding the IP for that?
Intellectual.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah. I'm going to defer this to the producer. For a reason. I'll tell you why.
Well, the footage submitted is owned by the filmmakers, and then the copyright of the film that we put together is controlled by us. But the spirit of the film is the footage is given to us, and the film is given back. So I guess hopefully the crowdsourced approach to receiving the footage is reflected back in the way that we've tried to distribute all of the films that we've made using this model. It sort of feels like the best way to acknowledge the way that we've been able to make them.
By the way, this film, because it's not this, I appreciate where you're coming from. The films that I've written, the fiction films I've done, were produced out of companies that I was a part of, and therefore I owned the IP, as you would call it. I understand what you're saying, but a film like this, it's not possible, because the other massive endeavor this film had was legal clearances. Every single thing in this film had to be legally cleared for it to be released in the manner it's being released, which means we had a department of people going through every clip, and everyone you see who's a subject has to sign off on them being in, not only the filmmaker submitted, but the subject, if there's a logo, if there's a private property that was, like, everything had to be cleared, and it took months and months and months and months. So there's no way that all relates back to ownership. So this is not something that I conceived of. This was something I told you. I got a phone call one day and I said, oh my God, this is amazing, because it's in a way democratization of content distilled into an essence of something. But this is not something that anyone in this room could just say, I'm going to go do this. It coalesced in a certain way. What I am saying is that we can learn from it as filmmakers to better our storytelling. And in terms of the actual delivery, we can learn from what's about to happen, because the film is just being given away. And I think there's something actually very beautiful about that too.
I have a question. When you have 16,000 clips coming in, and each reality is something that is really true for the person who has actually submitted the clip, how do you criteria to sort of, weed out things and still be confident at the end of the day that you captured something that is, not biased in some way or the other?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And in fact, very quickly, anyone here watching a clip, I think would very quickly be able to determine whether it's truthful or not. Whether it's somebody just saying, "Oh, look at me," or there was one clip we got of an aspiring actor doing push-ups without a shirt on top of a mountain. And so we look at that and say, okay, you know what, that might have a place in some sort of comedic montage. It ended up not having a place. But then, as Anurag was saying, for example, on this woman, Priya, who's this single mother in Delhi who just set up the camera and started speaking about her views and about the solitude, the solitude that she lives in. Right away, anyone in this room would say, oh my God, this is honest. This is somebody being honest. So the honesty and genuineness of the footage was also what struck us. And right away, we could tell what wasn't. And again, like I said, if somebody points out of the window for 4 hours and drives in traffic, honest or not, it's probably not very interesting. We could all drive through traffic and look out the window anytime. What is amazing about editing, which I always like to say is the only art form involved in filmmaking which is specific to filmmaking. Every other art form comes from a tradition which is different. Like acting comes from an acting tradition, and design comes. Music. Obviously, music has its own tradition. Editing is the only one specific to film. And what you can create out of editing, out of that 4 hours of traffic, the 2 seconds you take and you recontextualize it, putting it in between 2 other shots, and it becomes something very beautiful. That is honest, because what we were trying to do, the intent of it is that. And a lot of discussions we had on the rough cuts were of that. I mean, we would have discussions about what we felt were honest and genuine and not. And they're very intricate discussions. That's part of the process.
This amazing thing about filmmaking is, it's like the editing process, actually it's very intuitive. A film always emerges, you're not really looking for something. You're watching everything and suddenly one day something emerges out of it. And that's the most beautiful part of filmmaking. It's like when we put together a film, it literally is like a eureka moment. You go out and say, I found my film. It's not that so that is the beauty of it. And for that you have to really just look at it without any kind of a precondition. And if you're not really looking for it, if you're really looking for something that you know what you want, then it's not going to grow. That's not going to be an experience that it eventually became. Then you're just looking for exactly the things that you want, and you're going to play favorites, and it's not going to become that film that it became. And that's the most beautiful part of filmmaking. That's how life is, isn't it? There's so many, I'm a man and there's so many million women around the world, we settle for one. When we settle for one, how do you choose that? It's intuition in that moment. Say, all the things in life are like that. It's not really looking for something. It's intuition. It's intuitive, it's organic, it happens. And you have to allow it to happen. Many filmmakers don't allow things to happen to their film.
Right. On that note, I'm afraid we're out of time. We're out of time. Sorry, we would love to have carried on the conversation, but we're done on time. I'd like to thank all the panelists, Anurag, Rich, Jack, Samir, thanks so much for joining us. All I can tell you is now, those of you who haven't watched it, just YouTube it and please watch it. It's got action, drama, music, comedy, everything that you're expecting. Thank you so much.